We are one. That was the promise. By early 2026, the EXO we knew had vanished. Powerhouse producer and independent CEO of INB100. Globally demanded and executing a massive solo world tour. A cinematic leading man running his own agency. A Chinese industry titan bridging a decade-long gap for a milestone reunion. The We Are One era has evolved into a new reality, with 12 separate legacies, one undeniable impact. When they officially debuted on the 8th of April 2012 with the single Mama, the industry viewed them as a massive logistical gamble. SM Entertainment's strategy of splitting the group into two units, EXO-K for Korea and EXO-M for China, was designed to colonize the Asian market simultaneously. However, this dual market strategy led directly to their 2013 commercial breakthrough. The release of Growl pushed their first studio album EXO-XO to sell over 1 million copies. During this golden window, the OT12 branding was a lucrative corporate asset, projecting an image of unbreakable brotherhood. They became an absolute monolith, winning Album of the Year at the Mnet Asian Music Awards and establishing a dominance that seemed structurally impenetrable. Every move they made as 12 reinforced the narrative that EXO were the permanent successors to the K-pop throne, making their sudden fragmentation all the more shocking to the global market. The monolith didn't hold, and the initial crack happened at the absolute height of their momentum. On the 15th of May 2014, just 8 days before the group's first solo concert tour, The Lost Planet was set to begin. Chris Wu filed a lawsuit against SM Entertainment to terminate his contract, citing health issues and unfair treatment. Chris immediately relocated to China, leveraging his fan base to secure leading roles in blockbuster films, effectively becoming one of the first big traffic idols in the mainland. Years later, his career would end following a 2021 criminal conviction in China, resulting in a 13-year prison sentence. But back in 2014, his exit was simply the first brutal reminder that the group's architecture was flawed. EXO pushed forward with Overdose as an 11-member unit, presenting a stoic front, while the structural integrity of the group quietly deteriorated. The dust had barely settled when a second, even more potent solo career emerged. On the 10th of October 2014, Luhan exited the group. Unlike his predecessor, his transition to China felt like a cultural homecoming for one of the country's most beloved figures. Almost instantly, he became the king of social media, breaking Guinness World Records for the most comments on a Weibo post. His return to Beijing was met with a level of hysteria usually reserved for visiting world leaders. Luhan leveraged his massive fandom to secure roles in global blockbusters, starring alongside Matt Damon in The Great Wall. His solo musical path leaned into a soft, experimental sound that blended Mandarin pop with Western electronic influences. Transcending the role of a vocalist, he cultivated a brand, becoming a fixed cast member on the massive variety show Keep Running. In those early years, he focused heavily on a clean image, becoming the face of Cartier and L'Oreal in China. By 2016, his solo concerts were selling out in seconds, proving that he could maintain a Luhan effect entirely independent of the EXO brand. While the remaining 10 members in Seoul were restructuring their vocal lines to compensate for his loss, Luhan was building an independent empire that would see him remain a top-tier celebrity in China for the next decade. The final structural blow to the original EXO OT12 vision arrived in the summer of 2015. After a series of physical injuries that made group performances impossible, Tao officially moved toward a solo career on the 24th of August 2015. Rebranding himself as Z Tao, he executed a radical shift in style, moving away from the polished idol pop sound to lean aggressively into C-pop and rap. His debut mini-album TAO showcased a defiant persona, with lyrics that often touched on his desire for freedom, creating a raw, unpolished connection with his fanbase. Tao utilized his wushu background to transition into action cinema, co-starring with Jackie Chan in an action comedy movie Railroad Tigers in 2016. Tao's path was perhaps the most entrepreneurially focused of the early exits. He established Z-Tao Studio almost immediately, which later evolved into the fully-fledged agency L-Tao Entertainment in 2018. This move allowed him to sign himself and other artists, effectively becoming his own boss while still in his 20s. He balanced a prolific music career with high-fashion ambassadorships and acting roles. By the end of 2015, the 9 EXO members remaining in Korea stabilized with the hit Call Me Baby and continued their absolute dominance of the physical sales market. With the borders of the group permanently redrawn, the remaining members began an aggressive campaign of diversification. Lei, operating as the sole remaining Chinese member, navigated a complex dual path. While maintaining his link to the group, he established his own studio in China, effectively becoming a sheep in his own right. His high-concept solo albums, Lose Control in 2016 and Namanana in 2018, did more than chart, pioneered M-pop, mixed Mandarin pop, bridging Chinese instrumentation with Western production. By the time he accepted a mentorship role on Idol Producer, a Chinese survival show, he had cemented his status as a senior statesman of the industry at a remarkably young age. In Seoul, the expansion was equally aggressive. Baekhyun began building his legacy as a vocal king, collaborating on the chart-topping Dream with Bae Suzy. Meanwhile, Dio stripped away his idol persona for gritty, award-winning acting roles in Swing Kids and Along with the Gods, proving he was one of the few idols who could truly transition into a respected character actor. Kai emerged as a global fashion muse, becoming the first Korean global ambassador for Gucci. Suho took on lead roles in musical theater, while Chanyeol and Sehun branched out into production and variety. By 2018, the group had evolved from a collection of singers into a portfolio of diverse, high-value entertainment assets. The inevitable arrival of mandatory military service forced a transition where solo careers became the primary directive. During this era, Baekhyun achieved a historic milestone with his EP Delight, becoming the first solo artist in 19 years to sell over 1 million copies in Korea. He defined a new R&B sound for K-pop of mature, sensual, and vocally demanding. Kai officially debuted his solo music later that year with a track that became a viral global sensation, its choreography cementing his reputation as a world-class performer. Chen utilized this period to release quiet, vocal-heavy solo albums like April and A Flower, while also navigating the personal transition of marriage and fatherhood, a move that challenged traditional idol norms. The Chinese side of the map saw Lei officially depart SM Entertainment in 2022 at the end of his 10-year contract. Rather than fading, he launched Chromosome Entertainment, his own idol agency, continuing to dominate the Chinese music scene with stadium tours. He remained a bridge between the two industries, often supporting his former members' releases from afar, with Seumin and Suho releasing their own solo projects brand new. And Grey Suit. The original OT12 members were now effectively operating as 12 independent CEOs, actors, and soloists. The landscape shifted once more as the members sought even greater autonomy. In early 2024, Baekhyun took the definitive step of launching his own label, INB100, bringing Chen and Seumin with him for their solo activities, effectively moving the EXO CBX trio under his own management. He created a structure that allowed them to maintain their group contract for EXO activities while taking full ownership of their solo work. D.O. followed a similar trajectory, founding company Susu to manage his thriving acting and music career. A vessel that carried him through the release of his critically acclaimed mini-album Blossom. Throughout 2024, these solo paths accelerated into full-scale professional operations. Baekhyun embarked on the Landsdelight tour, selling out arenas across Asia, while Suho completed his Suhome World Tour. Chanyeol finally made his official solo debut on the 28th of August 2024 with Blackout, a rock-pop-influenced album that highlighted his skills as a musician, all while Lay continued to expand his presence with new singles like Easy. The members' momentum reflected a level of financial and creative independence that would have been unthinkable during their rookie years. We started by asking what happened to the 12 individuals who debuted together in 2012. Today, the answer is a high-functioning map of Asian entertainment. In February 2025, Kai was discharged from the military, immediately launching his Kaion 2025 solo tour. In September 2025, Sehun returned as the final member to complete his service. The group narrative has now entered its military completed phase. In late 2025, a landmark announcement confirmed that EXO would return as a 6-member unit for an 8th studio album in early 2026. The current state of the 12 in 2026 is a study in professional expansion. Xiumin, Chen, and Baekhyun continue to manage their independence at INB 100. And D.O., having successfully established himself as a Chongmuro movie star, a term for elite South Korean film actors. He transitioned from company Susu to a new partnership with Blitzway Entertainment in late 2025. Lay operates his empire in China while bridging the gap for group promotions. Luhan and Tao remain titans in the Chinese domestic market. They have proved that the EXO brand is a prestigious shared heritage that allows them to return to the center whenever they choose without sacrificing the individual empires they have spent a decade building together. The story of OT12 is not a tragedy about a failed group. It is a story about the sheer statistical anomaly of expecting 12 highly ambitious individuals to stay in one room for 2 decades. The industry framework they were born into was never designed to hold that much individual gravity. They fractured the mold of the supergroup and built a legacy in different corners of the world. The chants of those 12 names belong to history, but the resilience of the remaining members has turned a story of fragmentation into one of survival. As EXO continue their dominance for their 2026 comeback, the lives that started together have proven that there is life after the monolith. The sound of their shared greeting might have changed, but the impact of their individual legacies has never been louder.